If you have a credit card, a bank account, a student loan, or a mortgage, the CFPB is under attack and you need to hear this. Imagine this, you wake up one morning, check your bank account, and boom, there's mystery charges, there's overdraft fees, there's higher interest rates that just skyrocketed without no notice. Who do you turn to? The CFPB? Except it almost didn't exist anymore. It is a fact that the acting director of the CFPB, Russell Vought, and the Trump administration have been trying to erase and delete all of the information at the CFPB, and they tried to fire more than 90% of the workforce, basically leaving it as a shell. But thankfully, a federal judge stepped in and stopped the entire process. But here's the bigger problem that we have. If everybody's stating that they're just gonna restructure the CFPB, they're going to clean it up, why would you fire more than 90% of the staff when it's already been funded and it actually just basically pays for itself because it has returned over $20 billion back into the hands of American households? Why would you dismantle this entire thing? But another massive lawsuit was filed against the Trump administration and Russell Vought and I think Elon. So let's take a look at this lawsuit to see exactly what it's saying and what they're trying to defend, which is pretty much your consumer rights. Now, the people and companies that put this lawsuit together, it was the National Treasury Employees Union of Washington, D.C., the National Consumer Law Center in Boston, it appears, the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People, Virginia Poverty Law Center, Pastor Eva Steege, and the CFPB Employees Association versus Russell Vought in his official capacity as the acting director of the Consumer Finance Protection Bureau. So they're directly suing Russell Vought. So buckle up, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to go over this line by line so we have 100% clarity as to what exactly is going on with the CFPB. So in the aftermath of the 2008 financial crisis, Congress established the Consumer Finance Protection Bureau and charged it with supervising and regulating financial institutions across the country as well as assisting consumers harmed by those institutions. That mandate to the executive branch has led to the recovery of billions of dollars for average Americans and, as Congress required, produced a more fair, transparent, and competitive market for financial products and services. Now, Congress established the CFPB through the exercise of its constitutional power to regulate commerce, and Congress has the ability to eliminate the CFPB through that same power. Congress has not done so. In defiance of the Congress's role in our constitutional system and the separations of powers, President Trump has resolved to totally eliminate the CFPB. To carry out that plan, he fired the CFPB's director and illegally installed Russell Vought as the acting director on February 7th. That same day, Elon Musk posted on social media account, CFPB, rest in peace. With a series of escalating actions beginning on February 8th, Vought took drastic steps to make that promise a reality. First, he instructed CFPB staff and contractors to immediately stop all work that involved promulgating rules and guidance, investigations, public communications, supervision of covered entities, contracting, and litigation. He then informed the Federal Reserve that the CFPB will not take any additional funding for its operations in the next quarter. The next day, Vought directed staff not to perform any work task at all, including tasks mandated by statute. He also directed staff to not come into the office. Just one day later, February 10th, Vought announced that the CFPB's Washington, D.C. headquarters was closed and has since taken steps to cancel the lease on the building. Vought didn't stop there. The next day, February 11th, he canceled $100 million of contracts with companies that enable the CFPB to do all aspects of its work, from processing consumer complaints to litigation to supervision. That same day, he took the dramatic step of firing indiscriminatorily fashion 70 probationary employees. To add insult to injury, he communicated the news via a mail-merged form email that didn't bother to personally address the fired employees who viewed the email on their phones. Don't worry, it doesn't stop there. On February 12th, the Bureau's statutorily mandated consumer complaint went dark, cutting off one of the Bureau's most direct links with consumers in dire financial straits. The Bureau's consumer response function is now functioning at diminished capacity at best, threatening a vital lifeline that collects hundreds of thousands of consumer complaints a month. Vought is not expected to stop there. On information and belief, Vought intended to return the CFPB's operating reserve to the Federal Reserve. Given that he had already informed the Federal Reserve that the CFPB will not take any additional funding, that would eliminate its entire budget. And Vought has planned another mass layoffs that would incur imminently as early as today or tomorrow, as we saw in the news. Now here's the sauce. There are two great stories of what exactly the CFPB was doing as examples. So American consumers are already suffering the consequences. Plaintiff Pastor Eva Steege, an 84-year-old Lutheran pastor whose doctors have told her she has less than 6 months to live, can no longer discharge her student loan debt before she dies because the CFPB canceled its meeting with her, and the Bureau's statutorily mandated student loan businessman office has been forced to shut its doors. Meanwhile, military service members and their families who are owed refund payments based on a consent order between a predatory car title lender and the CFPB are not getting those refunds because the payments must first be approved by the CFPB employees who, of course, cannot work. Last part's the most important. Neither the president nor the head of the CFPB has the power to dismantle an agency that Congress established. By suspending the statutory mandated activities of the CFPB, Trump and Vought's shutdown of the CFPB runs afoul of core constitutional separation of power principles. Congress has expressed statutory directive and the Administrative Procedure Act, if I can say that right. Trump and Vought's actions to dismantle the CFPB have already caused mass confusion and imposed significant and irreparable harm to consumers across the country. Absent immediate belief, the defendants will continue to upend the lives of countless civil servants. Consumers who were relying on the CFPB to help resolve urgent financial disputes that, absent the CFPB's intervention, can lead to foreclosures or the inability to get a loan or rent an apartment, have been abandoned. Now let's scroll all the way down to the very bottom of this lawsuit where it says Treasury Secretary Bessent named acting director of the CFPB and halts the CFPB's work, because they literally had two directors at one point. They appointed one and then they moved to Vought. So let's read right here. On February 1st, 2025, President Trump fired then director of the CFPB, Rohit Chopra, as the director of the CFPB pursuant of Dodd-Frank, yada, yada, yada. And then Zika Martinez then became acting director of the CFPB. Then 2 days later, President Trump appointed Treasury Secretary Bessent as the acting director. Now, why does this matter? Because not only did they tell all CFPB employees once, but they told them twice to stop all activities. So on February 3rd, after Treasury Secretary Bessent was the acting director, he sent out an email titled Instructions from Acting Director, directing all CFPB staff and contractors to immediately suspend activities in 6 areas of work. Specifically, the February 3rd email stated that unless expressly approved by Bessent, all CFPB workers were required to not approve or issue any proposed or final rules or formal or informal guidance, to suspend effective dates of all final rules that have been issued or published but have not been yet become effective, to take additional investigative activities related to or settled informant action. So, I mean, it's pretty much telling you they told them to stop doing everything. Here's where it gets crazier. Not to issue public communications of any type, including publication of research papers, not to approve or execute any material agreements, including related to employee matters or contractors, and not to make or approve filings or appearances by the Bureau in any litigation other than to seek a pause in proceedings. Now fast forward to when Russell Vought took over. On February 8th of 2025, Acting Director Vought sent an email titled Directives on Bureau Activities. The email stated that Vought was committed to implementing the president's policies and that to that end, he directed all CFPB staff and contractors to comply immediately with 9 directives to cease works unless expressly approved by Vought. Not approve or issue any proposed or final rules or formal or informal guidance. Suspend the effective dates of all final rules that have been issued or published but that have not yet become effective. Not commence, take additional investigative activities related to or settled enforcement actions. Not open any new investigations in any manner and cease any pending investigations. Not issue public communications of any type, including publication of research papers or compliance bulletins. They don't want want anybody from the CFPB telling us what's really going on. Not approve or execute any material agreements, including related to employee matters or contractors. Not make or approve filings or appearances by the Bureau in any litigation other than to seek pause in proceedings. Cease all supervision and examination activity. And then we fast forward to today, where they attempted to fire almost the entire staff of the CFPB, but the judge stepped in and stopped them. And now all these people are just sitting in limbo, trying to figure out, okay, so what do we do? Now we gotta wait to hear exactly what the court is gonna say about this case. And as you heard in here, because everything was stopped, nobody can really truly do an investigation. They're like on some type of paid leave of some sort. So they're technically still getting paid, but they can't do any types of investigative work or any research or basically anything. And for those of you that are gonna say, oh, but it's still open, you're a liar. The website is still active. Yes, you can still submit an actual complaint. I stated that before very clearly, but you have to understand, they're not going to investigate anything. Nobody is allowed to work. Their teams have been broken off. Their actual probation period teams, people that have not been there for like more than a year, have been let go. So a lot of these teams that were created don't exist anymore. But let's scroll down all the way down to page 21. We're gonna go over to the part where it says the CFPB canceled the contract for the contractors that processed mail-in complaints and complaints referred to the CFPB by other federal agencies and Congress. Complaints submitted online can't be sent to companies unless those companies are already in the CFPB system. So if your complaint is from a company that's not in their system, they're not gonna be able to do anything because they can't change or alter anything. So yes, they can forward a complaint, but they can't actually get involved in doing any kind of actual investigation. Now we're gonna scroll down to the top of page 23. Now right there, number 58, it clearly states, because of the stop order, complaints are not being addressed by the staff and not being routed to lenders who sometimes resolve issues without the need for intervention from the CFPB. Did you just hear that? They're not actually routing these complaints to the lenders because they're not supposed to, which is wild. So yes, again, you can file a complaint, but they're not even routing those to the lenders. So we thought they were, but right here it clearly states that they are not. Now this is the final piece that I'm gonna read because this is really groundbreaking on a case that they are working on. So another borrower had nearly $5,000 erroneously drawn from her account for a loan payment. She was giving conflicting information and then told a refund could take 12 weeks. After lodging a complaint in the ombudsman, she received a refund. So because she filed a complaint through the system, guess what? She got a refund instead of having to wait 12 weeks. So again, tell me the CFPB is not doing any good because it's clearly they are. Now, another borrower had loans canceled and was due a $20,000 refund. After contacting the lender directly and waiting nearly 2 years, the borrower lodged a complaint with the CFPB. The lender issued a refund shortly after. Imagine that. So as you can see, the CFPB has been doing good and it's been helping consumers, but now it's not there. So all we can do is patiently wait and see exactly what happens. We're hoping that the judicial system will do its job and reinstate all these people and get the CFPB back up and running again. So I hope you enjoyed this video. We covered another big one and we discussed this massive lawsuit with the CFPB. Now make sure that you watch this next video because it is about an AI credit repair software that you may want to learn more about. And if you felt that I brought you some value in this video, make sure that you don't forget and subscribe to increase your credit score.